looking at the pictures of her coordinates. Mark, isn't this the same place where Sue was? Couldn't bring herself to talk about his. Yes, master. That's the same place. I want every single CCTV footage of that area, from the time this place was constructed till now, and make sure nothing comes edited. Yes, master. Warden left to get on work immediately. Few days later. These few days, Wan stayed at her office, not wanting to face any man that tried to dictate her life till now. The door opened and Mark threw a brutally beaten man at her feet. She coldly glanced at the begging man before fixing her intense gaze on Mark. Bark, grabbed that man here, banged his face on the marble floor once, before ordering him to spill the truth, joining his hand. Please, I was just paid to edit the footage. I don't know anything else, crying hard while screaming in pain. He's wasting my time, Mark. Him. Cold and uninterested. No, please. I'm telling you, that video where Suho was killed, it was edited by me, stuttering badly in fear. A shadow of pain passed her face, before the anger took over. She stepped on his already injured hand, making him scream louder, bent down to grab his collar and glared as if there's no way he's making out alive. Why? A cold word hit his face, making his blood freeze. I was paid by mafias. I don't know their faces. I just got an order and money. Clenched her jaws. Where's the original footage? I already gave him. Gestured at Mark. Wasting no time in the man in the hat. One stood up and wiped the splatters from her face. Dangerously calm. Show me the video. Flashback. It wasn't supposed to go like that. Jungkook sitting on his knees, blood on his hands, ears ringing, still warm in his grip. Suho lay on the floor beside him, still breathing, weirdly. Jungkook's jaw clenched. To himself, stay with me, man, stay with me. Wrapping clothes around Suho's wound. A second body groaned nearby. One of the men who had ambushed them both. It was a trap. They wanted to end Suho. But Jungkook was the one who got tipped off, and he ran in head first, no backup, just instinct and up. He got two of the men before the third tackled Suho, and him straight through the stomach. Suho was going into shock fast. Weak, whispered, "Don't let me go out like this, not on their terms." He reached up, dripping through his teeth. Jungkook checked the pound just one. He froze. They'll finish me, and they'll hurt when they do. He meant one. Last words. Please, I'm already gone. And then he did the unthinkable. He pulled Jungkook's wrist, pushed the muzzle of the to his chest. No, I can still. Desperate, you owe me. Before Jungkook could comprehend, Suho pressed Jungkook's finger against the and made out an easy escape. And Jungkook walked out, but not of Suho, of the rest who set them up. The rest of the footage. Jungkook returned the same day to take revenge, dragged into the shadows, them for names and their bodies. But none of that made it to the screen. Only the bullet, only the blood, only the lie. Back to the present. Cold chandeliers, clinking glasses, and laughter that felt too expensive to be real. Jungkook stood near the bar, suit crisp, eyes empty. He was used to eyes on him, feared, respected, and weighed. But tonight they felt heavier, colder. He just has excused himself from his business partners. Their endless chatter was a headache in itself. But what truly made his temples throb was inevitable question that always came at the end. How's your wife? Like they were rubbing salt on his fresh wound. Mr. Jeon? A soft, calculated voice cooed beside him. He turned. A tall woman in crimson off-shoulder gown leaned against the counter, eyes sharp with curiosity. Didn't expect to see you there, alone, she said, sipping from her flute. Didn't ask for your expectations, flatly said, but gulped down the drink in his hand in one go to numb the pain, yet it burned him more. Don't mind me, Mr. Jeon. I was just asking about your wife. Jungkook's jaw clenched. He said nothing, because what could he say? She hates him. She married him drunk. She hasn't spoken to him since she cried in his arms 3 nights ago. The woman tilted her head and smirked, seeing him losing his one stranger soul. She was enjoying a broken man. You know, people are starting to say maybe your wedding news is fake, since no one has ever seen her with you. Jungkook's silence burned deeper. His finger tightened around the glass in his hand. But then... Sorry I'm late, love. The voice cut through the air like a thunderclap. Elegant heels click against the marble floors, and all heads turned, including his. Why? Wearing black silk, chin high, smile disarming, she walked toward him like she belonged nowhere else but by his side. And before Jungkook could even blink, her arm was around his, her lips brushing his cheek in a soft, practice kiss. Oh no, that angry look again? She said with a teasing smile, then widened her eyes in mock fear. Wait, don't tell me, you are caught. That means you're 2 seconds away from losing someone. She slipped her hand into his and leaned in with a sweet warning tone. Come on, baby, not here. Let her walk away with dignity at least. The woman froze for a moment, but managed to walk away, flustered, awkward, scared. Vine didn't wait. She turned to Jungkook, fingers softly curling at the flap of his coat. You okay, baby? She asked, gently brushing the imaginary lint from his chest. Jungkook stared at her, stunned, numb. She was smiling, soft, warm, familiar, too perfect, too much like a lie. He nodded stiffly without opening his mouth. Vine's fingers squeezed his arm gently, but he didn't respond. Not really.